Questions, answers, conversation, whatever. So, are there any questions or comments? Lance?
A few comments. One is Jeff, your talk reminded me. Neil Postman had an essay, Columbosity, which is about Columbus. Who went to his grave saying he sailed to the Indies. And that natural stupidity actually has a certain advantage to it.
Right. Yeah. No. Fantastic. I will check that out. I'll read that essay. That sounds great.
Yeah. And for Nick, it seemed like a technological kind of version of what one of Alfred Korzybski's students came up with, William S. Burroughs and the Cut Up. It seems like this is sort of like the natural extension of those literary experiments.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't do it here, but if you take the words and like really slow them down, you can hear all these I guess what phonics or sounds and the vowel sounds and the consonant sounds. There's so much rhythm in them, and they're so beautiful. Just in just listening to them, and the variety of things you can do with them. And I didn't really. That's what I was trying to do. I didn't really get to do that. I did some other things, but their words are beautiful.
And just for Tom, you mentioned you were a composer and musician. Where can we hear your music?
Did you pay him to do that?
So there are some CDs back there.
The name?
Yeah, the name of my ensemble is Blue Race, and our new record, which came out 3 weeks ago, is called, it's Indigo, but Indigo, you figure it out. Of course, CDs, like, how many people don't have a CD player, right? They make great posters for drinks, but the difference between having a CD or an album and listening online on Apple Music and on Spotify and is you're listening to MP3s, which can I be profane, sound like shit.
Yeah.
And waveforms are about 3 to 4 times the size with respect to talking about digitization and things of that nature. It does sound better off of a hard copy than it sounds when it's streaming.
So they're for sale?
They're for sale. Because they cost a lot of money to make.
So how much do they cost?
They cost $10.
I want to know if a human wrote the music.
Actually, one client I have lots.
Did a human write the music?
A human wrote the music. And I'm very happy to say at the bottom of the liner notes that no vocals were auto-tuned on the album.
I had a question for Tom. Again, I enjoyed the talk a lot. Sherry Turkle at one point, I think Alone Together says something along the lines of, "Now will we love robots, but what will love me?" And I mean, I can see you with a sophisticated palate, having grown it over many years, to appreciate non-AI music. To be able to say that's not AI music, and I appreciate that. But what would you say to people who are raised and weaned at the stuff that's coming out right now? Are they going to have the wherewithal, the sensibilities, the appetites to prefer what you call like cultivated human music, or are they going to go, that just doesn't sound enough like the kind of AI stuff that I've grown up on?
It will be too.
I mean, my answer is that among people in this room, how many of us are educators, and with respect to the people involved in general semantics, why do we do what we do? Is to try to tell those people, no, you're wrong, there's your natural stupidity in action. Let us explain how and why you need to understand these different things.
Maybe Nick and Jeff, I think one of the claims that this proliferation of AI tools is making is that anybody can be creative, right? And a lot of us, maybe in education, have been part of a kind of professionalization of our crafts that sometimes is mistaken as elitist in some way. But both of your performance in your talk remind me that there's also like the punk rock tradition of do it yourself. And I wonder if you could maybe just talk about DIY punk rock as a kind of antidote to the current democratic claim that anyone now using these AI tools can be an artist and be a musician.
Absolutely. I think about this a lot. This idea that, right, I have to believe as an educator that anyone can learn, right? That anyone can do it, right? And yes, the various punk rock movements around the globe, in the 60s and 70s and forward, absolutely were built on this DIY, do-it-yourself ethos. And the promise of AI seems to be the opposite of that, which is you can't do it, so let technology do it for you. This is exactly what Tom, I think, mentioned in his talk. And so, yeah, I think natural stupidity can be an antidote to that. Like, you don't even have to be intelligent, just Leroy Jenkins your way into it. Just dive in and go, and see what happens.
Maybe artificial stupidity.
What's that?
Artificial stupidity.
Maybe it's artificial stupidity. Maybe we're not stupid, but we have to pretend to be stupid in order to accomplish something magnificent.
Didn't punk movement really require the electric guitar? I mean, the electric guitar was the sort of automatic music-making instrument in a way that the classical guitar was not.
Noise making.
I'd like to say something on that. I'm actually a guitar player, and I used to practice with my metronome, trying to get everything completely perfect. And when I finally learned that when you make the mistakes, it actually sounds better. And that's when I really started to realize like how to express myself with music. You can bend the note, you can be late, you can be early, you can rush, you can. And then even in this kind of format with this software, the audio artifacts, the digital artifacts are what sounds cool. If it's like totally perfect, it's boring. And that's kind of the problem with AI art to me. It's like, it just doesn't look like there's mistakes. It's like there's no rough edges, there's no like, punk or whatever. There's not, you can get punk with a computer. It's like if you know how to, program and have the randomization or whatever. But if, AI stuff, they haven't got that in there yet, as far as I can see.
Do you have any other questions, comments?
I have a question. Like in music, as you were pointing out, a lot of music is mathematical based, and even if you go back to like the history of music, like what's called the classical tradition, there are all these rules that you're supposed to follow. And then somebody like Beethoven comes along, like follow. Even somebody like Mozart, follow a lot of it. Then you can go, you just take some jazz, somebody's supposed to improvise. There are only so many notes that theoretically play that are full of correct.
They can correct. Yeah.
Right, that are like within the key or within the sound key. So sometimes I wonder, it seems like AI can do that. You go to a lot of bars, you get more jazz numbers. There's not much that's not ever, right? Whereas then you got Charles Mingus saying, telling his musicians, they know this one. There are no wrong notes. So I'm wondering where there's definitely going to be a mathematical structure to most music, even if it's not that 12 tones. So this is a very interesting topic. Where is the exactly? What can you say about dividing rules? That if you have a minor 7 flat 5 chord, supposedly you can play a Dorian note, right? Mm-hmm. So okay, and most of the time you do that.
Where is this question? Or comment? I think that, and they sort of just said this about making mistakes. It's amazing the things that we discover when we break the rules. And with respect to how art moves forward, and I'm not just talking about music, I'm talking about all of what we consider our arts. We move it forward by trying to stretch the boundaries of what has already been done, and doing so, with our stamp, our imprint on it, right? And I guess what I was trying to say at one point about both verbal language and about music is it seems that there are almost infinite possibilities there. I mean, here we are, in Western civilization in 2024, still talking about ideas, and we still have a long way to go. So I think that that's true, in music, and I think it's true in painting and the kinds of conceptual art that Jeff's doing. That's my best answer.
I there's a comment and question for Fernando. Isn't AI, artificial intelligence, an oxymoron? And that's my comment, or rhetorical question. And Fernando, so based on what you said, what do you see for the future? Because I was working at a school that said I have to use technology in every single class session. I have to, when they come in and watch me, and I'm not using the computer in a public speaking class, they say, this is not right, and they let me go. So what do you see for the future based on your talk, which is, it was sad and very insightful, I thought.
Well, I see new generation very different from us. I think we try to find a new balance. I was talking with Corey yesterday, and I think it is very important to go back to basics and to have exams and to have conversations and to do some exercise, but in the paper and a pen, because we have to stimulate this kind of things. Because new generations they try to solve everything now with AI. If you assign an answer or something, they go to ChatGPT or Perplexity or any LLM, and they just ask for a solution, for an answer. So it's very important to show that this gonna show some responses, but they are limiting the critical thinking and some other skills that are very important to live in this world. So I think the best important thing is to find the balance with this new generation.
I'd like to follow up on that because my question was actually, is there any room to reach students without technologies any longer? I had a very strange experience on Thursday. My last class before coming here was totally programmed to meet the needs of digital inhabitants. I had a PowerPoint with all sorts of video and all the bells and whistles. And I started the class with a question. It was about book banning. And I started the class with a question, and I was absolutely shocked, but an hour and 15 minutes later, we got to no slides, and it was just conversation led by the students. And I was the one having, withdrawal symptoms that I didn't use my technology. Yeah. So is there still a chance to reach them? After COVID, are they yearning for that? They may not know that they're yearning for it, but are they yearning for it? I'd like to think your answer about balance, yes. They are.
Yes.
I just wonder, based on some of the answers that you gave to the question, that stupidity, it's good to make mistakes, it's what makes it human, it's what makes it creative. And I wonder in art, which is what we're all talking about, what is not a mistake? I mean, there's no, like in language, there's no grammar, there's no rules, there's no syntax. Fellini talked a long time ago about whether there's a grammar to cinema.
right? And if there is no such thing, there are conventions, that's for sure. But I don't know when it's not a mistake. Or is there a meaning to the word mistake when creativity is basically whatever you want it to be, or what the convention of what is created is at a certain point?
I guess that's a question for me. So, yeah, well, that's a good question. And I mean, I think of the talk that I gave is kind of, it felt like a first draft. Like there were definitely some places that I wanted to dive in deeper, but time and I think more research and more thinking. But yeah, I do think that and it's kind of a temporal question in the sense that the history of art from say the 1880s forward has been one of kind of increasing permissiveness and increasing breaking of those conventions to explore what's possible, art and music and literature and what have you, poetry, right? It doesn't mind, it's a poetry, well, clearly, right? We've got 100 years but that's a good question. Like, is there a point where clearly it is a mistake, or is literally there no mistake at all? And I guess it's all of the kind of context and culture, right? So I guess I think it's an open question. We'll let that question sit because it's a good question. I don't know if I have an answer, but I think it's an important one to consider, because then once we flip that question back to say, are AI for other purposes, right? Because I was making the comparison to other, not necessarily LLMs, but other forms of kind of technology and data-driven practices that we go through daily. That so I can say as an artist, well, fuck AI, I'm going to do all this stuff by hand. But if I don't know how to get from point A to point B, I mean, if it's Manhattan, it's a straight line. But if I don't know directions, I'm probably going to ask Google Maps, and then I'm kind of. But Google Maps can give me a wrong answer. Right? Like I've driven down roads that, oh, that's not a road, that's a driveway that ends in a chain link fence. Like that's right. So there are wrong answers in some contexts. So I think that's a question we got to think about.
Evan, you probably remember back at NYU, the media ecology program, Neil Postman and Christine Nystrom would talk about our media ecology SWAT team. SWAT stood for some wise ass theory. And in the book manuscript that I just submitted, I borrowed from Miles Davis, who said, there are no wrong notes. It's the note that follows that determines whether the note is wrong or not.
And there's context.
Yeah.
It's all context.
I wonder if maybe if somebody could say a little something about learning from our students, because I'm getting a kind of feeling like kids today that are like we need to rescue them, that somehow this post-digital native are hopelessly lacking something, and that we need to come up with some solution, either through some technological austerity in the classroom or some like shock therapy. That they're referred to occasionally as fragile and this sort of thing. Seeing how our generation, has burnt the world down, it's in constant war and pandemic. Like if someone could just talk about like having empathy and learning from this generation, not like imposing some order on them.
Yes.
We're all looking at you.
As Thomas said, as Postman said, it's a trade-off. We have to rescue. We have to show that technology is, but also take up. So we have to teach how to critical think about things, and we also need to try to understand the environment, the technologies, and try to use it. But that's why I said it's very important to find a balance, because we have to put limits ourselves to use these new technologies that they use. But it's very important to rescue, to try to improve their natural skills, because they are losing some important skills now to face the challenge that the world has for them.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I want to thank the presenters for a very thought-provoking, provocative, and now we have a 15-minute break.